circle of rat back and I'm going and leaving tracks and morning. And I don't give a crap whether you streaming, you torrent this. You can try to contest, but you'll be needing an army. Beat them in Normandy, current rappers eat to the warning stone.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So, pro wrestling, has made its bones off of elaborate characters, big names, people with cool nicknames. You know, Gorgeous George, Nature Boy Ric Flair, Mad Dog Vachon, and all of these things. And sometimes people get the wrong idea. They think that wrestling is all about cool names and not about cool characters. But what really gets over is when the character is brought to life. When the nickname, it applies to what people are seeing from you. Gorgeous George being a great example. Gorgeous George, prim, proper, very effeminate in a way, fits the term gorgeous, or at least his version of what he thinks is gorgeous. So this video today is going to be about basically that wrestling has gotten away from it, and it's not good, And I get that sometimes this kind of leans into what people say about the WWE specifically, that it's cartoonish. And what they mean is that it's colorful, it's bright, but that the characters are so clearly defined that they're almost one-dimensional in a way. The model, Rick Martel, is literally a model. He's literally a man who thinks he's a model. Jake the Snake Roberts literally carries a snake. Of course, these things, Andre the Giant is literally a giant. But these things are not always that way. Those are just some examples of being very on the nose. But what I really want people to recognize is that wrestling is about characters, it's about personality, it's about bringing what you're doing to life. Bring your nickname to life, right? And so I sat down and I looked at some wrestlers today, and I noticed that a lot of guys have some cool nicknames. There's some cool nicknames out there. There's some very generic nicknames too. But, what does some of the cool nicknames mean, right? I'll give you some examples. Rhea Ripley, the Nightmare. What does that mean? Right? What is the American Nightmare, Cody? What does that mean? Now, you could say, well, that's a twist on the American Dream. That's his dad. Now, he's America's Nightmare. It's like, okay, but what does that mean? How is he a nightmare? In what way is Rhea Ripley a nightmare? A nightmare for who? We got to drill in and bring these characters to life. It's not just a cool nickname. Bring it to life. When Dusty Rhodes said he was the American Dream, he was talking about the old American monomyth, the rags to riches story, the son of a plumber who is now on TV making a lot of money, in a sequin robe, right? He went from being the humble son of a plumber to being a big star. That's the American Dream. That's how you bring the American Dream to life, right? How is Cody the American Nightmare? Just think about it. How is that? It's not the same, right? Dusty's talking about his background. His father was a plumber. He was able to build an empire off of his dad's hard work, a rags to riches story, an everyman story. That's why people were engaged with Dusty, right? Even if people don't know why, because, I'm not saying that people did this on purpose all the time, but Dusty understood who Dusty was. He understood where he was in when he was in the character, in the moment. So now it's a lot of wrestlers who don't really know who and what they are. One of my number ones, and I think I've said this numerous times on this channel, the Bastard. What does that mean? Like, we know what a bastard is, right? We know what a bastard is. Child born out of wedlock. Somebody who might be a scumbag. Somebody who might be a backstabber or something like that, right? How is Pac any of those things? What did Pac do that you would say, a bastard would do that? He's a son of a bitch. He's a scurvy dog or whatever. Nothing. He's just mean. And he talks like this. And it's like, I don't know. Nothing. There's nothing bastardy about the Bastard. Now, another one, the Machine, Brian Cage, right? Now, when you think of machines, what do you think? You think metal, you think a monstrosity, you think Terminator, you think, Universal Soldier, and then he kind of goes for that with like the machine parts on like the cool entrance or whatever. But does he wrestle like a machine? No, not really. Does, what is like machines are sort of soulless, sort of cold, right? Is that what Brian Cage brings out as he tries to bring out the machine? Is he like, like one of the cool machine types was like the androids in Dragon Ball, right? They had personality, but they were completely soulless entities for the most part, with the exception of like Android 18, who really liked Krillin. But when you see, especially the earlier androids, they were basically blank slates. They were focused on a single goal. They were destroyers, which is what machines are supposed to be. They are inhuman in a way. I don't see that when I see Brian Cage. I see him trying to be a cocky, arrogant heel or a cocky, arrogant babyface. It's not really machine-like. Compare that to Kurt Angle's wrestling machine, right? Or, what that speaks for itself. Kurt Angle was a machine. Guy's an Olympic gold medalist. And he is so well put together that you're not going to be able to out wrestle him. I mean, whoever can out wrestle Olympic gold medalist? Not going to happen, right? So it makes sense. When you look at all of the things that people are calling themselves now, and this might be a cool nickname, but are they really bringing it to life? And the answer is usually no. Like one of my favorites now is Andrade El Idolo, Andrade the Idol, right? The idol means that, you look up to him. You see him as a star. You see him as being a big deal. And he kind of is trying to bring that to life. But how? He still comes across kind of mob boss-ish. That's not really idyllic, but he's on his way. Give him a chance, to give him some space, to bring that to life. Something like Leo Rush, the man of the hour. What does that mean? How is he bringing the man of the hour to life? We don't know. Like I saw he tried to get Triple H to invest in a moth costume for him, because man of the hour is an acronym for moth. So he wanted to do like a moth mask and moth wings. And I was like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's trying to be a cartoon character. Like, he's legit. But the man of the hour, that's like, the guy who is, sort of a superstar, sort of a big deal. When he was doing stuff like with Lashley, like the man of the hour made sense then. He felt like a bigger star than he really was. It's an image. You can see him like him being a rapper, like the rap thing. It helps bring the man of the hour to life because he can be a big personality. That's what the success is found in wrestling, not in coming up with cool nicknames and coming up with cool chants, but having something that you can bring to life. And when you think about wrestling in general, it might not be as obvious as Andre the Giant is literally a giant. It might not be that literal. It might not be as literal as Rick the Model Martel being a literal model. And this is where people seem to think that characters have gone away. Where they say, well, I'm glad these guys aren't cartoon characters anymore, like Brutus the Barber Beefcake running around with a pair of scissors. It's like, no, it's not that obvious anymore. And to be quite honest, that kind of stuff is what made wrestling fun, because the cartoonishness actually appealed to children, who are the only ones who will believe that this shit is real. So, I mean, surprise, surprise, people stop believing that wrestling is real, so therefore people don't take it seriously. But children liked the larger-than-life characters, like Brutus the Barber Beefcake, like the Big Boss Man, like all the stuff that all the adults hated and thought was stupid because they didn't get it. Like, he's an Undertaker. Is he dead or what? It's like, kids wasn't thinking about it. They wasn't overthinking it. That's why sometimes I say stuff like, when you're old enough to ask questions about how SpongeBob can light fires underwater, you're too old to be watching SpongeBob. It's that kind of thing. But for a more mature audience, the characters are still there. They're just a little bit layered, a little bit more under the surface. Give you a good example of people who somebody think that have no personality or no character. Bret the Hitman Hart, right? Bret Hart wasn't a loud cartoon character like Shawn Michaels or Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior or Randy Savage. But think about it. The Hitman. What do you think of when you think of Hitman, right? You think of killers, right? You think of, but what if I say, okay, maybe not something as hardcore as a killer. You think of a gun, sharpshooter, right? Sharpshooter, precision, right? The excellence of execution, precise, hyper focused on winning and, beating his opponent, working a body part, technique. Hitman have to have great technique, right? So you started seeing that, and if you sit down and you think about it, it'll bloom on you. They put some thought into it. Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? Stone Cold. What is Stone Cold? Emotionless, distant. It was based off the serial killer Richard Kuklinski, right? But of course, he moved away from that Stone Cold Richard Kuklinski staring into the camera rather, thing. But he still kept certain elements of the Stone Cold character, the Stone Cold idea. And that is, he stayed distant from other people. He was a loner. Don't trust anybody. DTA. Giving people random stunners. He wanted to stay by himself. That sort of thing. Now, it's harder for people to grasp because they're like, oh, I didn't see that, or I wasn't paying attention to it. It's subtext. But considering most wrestling fans, it has gone back towards children. We kind of need to go back. Now, do I think we need to go back to huge scissors and, stuff like that? No. Maybe not anything that over the top like the Goon or, something like that. Maybe we don't need to do that. But we do need to make sure that when we are pushing characters, we're not just pushing cool nicknames that we could put on t-shirts, but that there has to be a character that is being played and that is being brought to life. And that is very important. And we kind of forget that sometimes. But let me know what you guys think. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel if you can. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.